Hello guys, welcome back to Coniferia, and we're starting off with a bang. Actually just a bit of a fire. Some mod settings have changed, I guess, because now I have fires in the region again, and usually, as you guys might know, I kind of mod out all these aspects, but as you guys can see on your screen right now, fire coverage is pretty terrible throughout the region. We've got a single big fire station here in downtown Pine Harbour, and no fire stations at all in Port Douglas, the regional capital. So first thing we're doing is placing down this large fire station. I don't have a lot of assets in this, you know, with this functionality, because I don't really have to build fire stations. I have built some for realism's sake, of course. That's the one in Pine Harbour, but generally I don't have to really care about this until now, I guess, because I've sort of decided that instead of just trying to fix it through modding and removing the possibility of fires, then I'm gonna allow that to happen, and then we'll just need to worry about fire coverage now, which is gonna add, you know, an additional aspect to managing the city. So I guess that's good. Had a bit of trouble placing this large fire station that we're building because Port Douglas is quite dense, and while the fire station is big, it doesn't necessarily fit the theme that well. So it was a little hard to try and place it in the core of the downtown area. So I've kind of decided here that I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna place it just in the outskirts of downtown Port Douglas. But this is fine, because as we continue to develop this big city, this area is going to be dense as well. So it's not going to feel like it's placed on the outskirts of the build-up environment. It's going to feel pretty centrally located. We're just doing some very simple detailing here, trying to create some road access to the fire engines, and just adding a bit of parking, a bit of fences, and that's kind of how much we go into detail with that. We're gonna continue afterwards this by placing just a single fire engine building in Brickville as well. So that's on the other side of the downtown area. It's a smaller and pretty old fire station that probably only has a single engine. But all in all, this will increase the fire coverage substantially here in Port Douglas, because of course, before we actually place down these fire stations, the engine would have to travel from Pine Harbour across the large strait, this large body of water, so quite a distance. So this is a much better outcome. Now for something a little different, we are once again putting our attention towards this northwestern corner of Pine Harbour, where we've been doing lots of suburban expansion recently. We kind of joked about it being a typical American-inspired suburban hillscape, but the reality all along has always been that I don't really manage to create these actual hillscapes here in the region, which basically means that the suburban areas turn out quite nice. They're not as sprawling, at least not yet, and we do have plenty of medium density or lower medium density sort of mixed in. So there's very few areas here in the region of Coniferia where we have these massive swaths of just single family housing, low density housing. And we're continuing this theme. I really like to mix up the more suburban areas with medium density developments, particularly some more modern ones, and that's what we're building here as well. I just started out by making the appropriate connection from this roundabout. And I guess my initial thoughts for this apartment complex was that I didn't want a lot of dedicated parking spaces. So instead, I'm just trying to choose some small cozy roads that do have quite a bit of on-road parking. The main one you see cutting through here is obviously a two-lane road, with parking on both sides. And then this smaller one I'm using is actually a single lane, one direction road, but with parking on both sides. Or wait, it's actually not one way, it's both ways, but there's only a single lane. I'm using intersection marking tool to just make some pretty basic markings. It always adds a bit of extra character to any road you might place. And I've also subscribed to a bunch of completely, I guess you could say, naked roads made with the road builder, which I'm going to experiment a little more with in creating my own intersection markings and just kind of personalizing it a bit to make it look nicer. For the actual apartment complexes, we're going with this pretty modern and basic design. So architecturally, it's not the most exciting style. The developer here has used one of the oldest tricks in the modern apartment complex development playbook. Not sure that exists, but hey, by just covering parts of the pretty cookie cutter white facade with some fake tiling or fake wood panels or whatever the brown parts are. It's a cheap way to add a bit of a more exclusive look, and you can criticize this all you want, but if it helps keep the cost of rental or the purchase price down a bit, then you need housing for many different types of income groups, and not all modern apartment complexes can be luxury developments, even though the developers, of course, like to call every single type of apartment development they're doing luxury, which is, of course, not true, but hey, capitalism does what capitalism does, right? Once again, we're just going a little simple here with the details, adding some pathways. Nothing fancy here. I don't want to detail up these areas too much because if we are ever gonna make this region truly huge, and we're sort of getting there, but if we want to keep expanding at a good pace, then we need to maintain a level of detail and some simple detailing techniques that provide the most bang for the buck, I guess you could say. And I think utilizing networks extensively is at least one way to achieve that, because it reduces the amount of props you place, and they're a little easier to place, and of course they allow you to have the modularity of a node controller. As you guys can see, I use it extensively when working with these paths. And there are some new features in the recent node controller update which are super cool, so I'm experimenting a bit with that as well. The results, well, I guess they vary a bit in quality, but learn by doing and all that. Built some garages as well for cars, and yeah, not sure how well that works. The style of these garages are maybe a bit odd. They don't really fit in with the four luxury style of the apartment complexes. But it was a fun little addition. Even though I might revamp that design a bit later, because looks a bit odd, I think. Now, I know I said that I wasn't really interested in doing surface parking, but I guess that now that this area is sort of complete, this triangle full of apartment complexes is nearing completion, then it doesn't seem all that realistic that there wouldn't be just a bit more parking accessibility here, given that the population of the area is actually quite high. It's not super dense, but it's got a good medium density. There's 11 households per building with the realistic population mod, and I do end up, as you can see, placing quite a few buildings. So we're doing some surface parking, this time in a custom style, using as many networks as possible, and then some raceable parking lots. This is something where if I don't do this for a while, so if I go like months without doing custom parking, then it feels really novel to me, and I feel kind of rusty. So I guess that also kind of reflects this build here, where I do struggle a bit. The end result is okay, but it took longer than I had hoped, and kind of goes against my initial idea of not doing too much custom work for this area, because yeah, like I said, we need some good techniques to relatively quickly make populous areas without going too heavy into the detailing. But oh well, I digress. I always end up here anyway, so might as well just get on with it. So yeah, more parking. Alright, so some slightly more exciting stuff coming up. For the longest time, you guys have suggested putting in an additional train station before the train that departs from Pine Harbour reaches the small town of Danton. And this was spawned by an episode many months ago where I built the suburbs out in this region where we're working now. So the suburbs of, I think they're called North and South Skylines. And there's quite a few people living here, and the train tracks, as you guys can see, cut right through the area. And there are actually 2 train lines that run through here, but of course, before now, it had to cross the small river and have this train station in Danton to, as an actual stop. But now we're finally building a stop here in this area here. So right now I'm just checking where is the train placed, and then I can start placing down some platforms. So initially I actually built this station as like, I built it with intersection marking tool, adding all the props and doing it that way, which I really recommend. But then I kind of moved the node and something bugged out and the whole thing was lost. And then I was like, never mind, I'll try to build this custom train station just using these networks and a lot of props. And this, of course, it makes it a little less reusable, and it's not the most efficient way, probably. But seeing as I don't really build custom train stations, I think this might be one of the first ones I've ever built in game. I really just wanted to get something going, and I got super frustrated by losing the intersection markings. So yeah, we're using networks, we're using props, and doing it the old-fashioned way, I guess you could say. And I guess it's obvious from what's shown right now that I'm no expert at building custom train stations. I mean, train infrastructure in general is not really something I know a lot of, but I feel that with Coniferia series, I'm starting to enjoy it more and more. And whenever I build something, I kind of have the urge to place a train station or bring down some railways and create some more complex infrastructure. So I guess that's a positive thing. At least if you're a bit of a train nerd and likes to see train things, then there's a good chance that more of that is coming up in the near future. But yeah, as visible, we're going the prop heavy way, so I'm doing it all the manual way. But it is really cool that we can use intersection marking tool to basically do all this work for us by just continuing to add new rules to the lines. Of course, there are some restrictions as to how freely you can move these props around when you use intersection marking tool. And I guess that's also why I've went with like the old school detailing way here, because it really gives me total flexibility. And I'm reusing these bus and tram shelters that we use throughout the Coniferia region to try and have like trying to streamline the design of our public transit stations and the services offered. And I think it turns out pretty well. So in the end, this station actually turned out pretty good, I think. But I know that I have a ton of train enthusiasts among my subscribers and viewers. So let me know what you guys think. How well did it go for my first try? I think one thing that's obvious, and as you have probably noticed already, it's that the platform is actually too short, because this station is serviced by these the type of trains I have here have 5 cars, and obviously all 5 cars can't really fit the station. Only 4 cars can. So that's a bit meh, but it'll have to do for now. I can go and change it at a later date if necessary. Was a bit I didn't know what to do with the pathways here, so the pedestrianized areas. I wasn't sure whether you should be able to enter the train station only from this primary road in this suburban area. Or rather, this road is less suburban, so I wasn't sure whether to only allow pedestrian entry through that road, the road that you see there on the left with the bridge crossing, or if I should also bring in the path to this new medium density apartment complex we built. And in the end, I end up allowing for access from the apartment complex as well, because I guess that would just be a really nice service and a really nice bonus if you live there, as it's gonna make the walk a little shorter. Doing some final detailing here, and I placed these vents, which yeah, this ventilation system, not really sure if that makes sense, but here you go, now it's there. And as you'll see in a short bit, I place just a few more of these, and then I finish up by just adding a nice looking retaining wall to this open segment that we have here between the start of the bridge and the end of this train station. Because it is a little odd looking right now, because it clips a bit into the ground. And that's why I'm using this. Yeah, I've already placed it here, so we're using this stone retention bridge here. Okay, I knew I knew this would take some time, but it took way too long. But I think part of that process was just trying out, you know, so many different designs for the pathways and stuff like that. And it's still definitely not perfect, because you'll, you know, sort of have people that kind of clip into the stairs. But I'm pretty proud of it. It really is my first completely custom train station. And I've been wanting to do it in the vicinity of this area for a bit of time. You guys have of course suggested multiple times to build one here, because it would likely be well visited, and as we can see, that really does seem to be the case. There's a ton of activity here at the train station, so I think that's really cool. Like I said, it's definitely not perfect, and you can make some really cool custom train stations with the intersection marking tool, so that you have a design that you can use and save. And I'm pretty confident that this particular station, for instance, you could actually do that in intersection marking tool. But for now, I just wanted to do it the old school hardcore custom detailing way. So that's just a ton of props and some networks. But yeah, that kind of wraps up this episode. This did end up taking quite a bit of time, but I'm pretty happy with the results. Having been on vacation for a few weeks and been busy with work in the following week, I'm pretty happy with the area that we've managed to create. I start to feel rusty at the game so quickly after not playing for just a few weeks. So yeah, this did add a nice population bump, and that's about it. If you want even more content from Coniferia, check out my Patreon. There's going to be a link in the description below. And if you stuck with me for this long, then of course, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
You've been blaming me, ooh, yeah, baby, baby. Lately I've been trying, ooh, yeah, baby, baby. You've been blaming me, ooh. I've been trying.